Hello, guys. Welcome to the Train Parrot and to another episode of the weekly TA for elite members. If you're part of my community on Patreon, you're probably now watching me live. We do this once a week, and as you can see at the right hand side of my screen, there is a selection of coins that my Patreon members have selected for today. We usually do it on Thursdays, but since tomorrow is my birthday, today we move it to Wednesday, and we're going to do TA of all of these. Members of Elite can vote for 5 coins. They can give 5 points to any coin that they want. They can add new coins, bring their own questions, and of course, join live the stream. That's the main perk. And during the live stream, I keep attention on all your questions. And I'm going to just now join the conversation in here. Hi from Argentina, Brad, Jose, Berat, Kama, Ivan. Hi, Gabor. So it's, as you can see, it's a very small group. It's cozy and it's a privilege because we can all chat together and do TA and at any point in time interrupt, ask questions, and in general be more, you know, connected, we could say. So the coins that we have for today, we have Avalanche, BTC, Solana, and ADA. I'm very surprised that we do not have Ethereum. What's going on with the people thinking about Ethereum? Maybe most of the people are already sold, or maybe you are not a holder of Ethereum. We have XLM, Injective, Aave, Link, Ton, Sui, Algo, and Caspa. One interesting one here, Cubic, that I haven't seen before. So it's going to be pretty cool, but let's get started with AVAX first. Let me go to my chart with alts, and I got here the whole selection. So where did we leave AVAX last time we were talking about AVAX? So we had this falling wedge. Many coins are producing a falling wedge at this point in time. Let me just double check that the sound is all good, that there is no issues. Is it possible if you mention which coin has the ability for bigger fall regarding the trade war situation? That's a question from Gabor. It's a fake question. And thoughts on Libra. Okay, I'll cover those questions. Let's continue for the in the meantime with this selection of coins, and I'll have a look at your questions as well. If you have any questions about the coin I'm reviewing right now, of course I'm gonna answer that immediately. So Avalanche, I will say that there is something good and bad about this. I think I reviewed it last week, and things are looking pretty much the same, but the difference is that last week we didn't have still the full effect of the trade wars, and now we can see that, we can quantify it. And when we were around $20 and we were being rejected by 23, we say, okay, things are gonna become a little bit difficult. Are we gonna just go into the next level of support, or are we also gonna lose that level too? And the positive thing is that we just lost one level and not two. And I can show you, I'm looking at the list of coins. If I see one very quickly there, if I remember by heart, if there's probably ADA and Solana are good examples that they lost more than this. So this one is just taking a first layer hit, whereas many other coins took a second, third, fourth, and so on. And that is something that we need to capture at this time in the market, because if there is some opportunity for upside, the ones that are showing more resilience can recover better. There are also examples of some coin that are holding because they're in the middle of a rally and they haven't yet priced in the fall. So if the fall continues, be aware of those. So this is not a rule of thumb for everything. You cannot just say, oh, it's holding very well. For example, there are a bunch of coins. I think it's hyperlink. I have it here. Hype. and that just now is bouncing. And there was another one that I was covering yesterday. I cannot remember. There's so many coins that was looking really impressive in terms of performance, and that one specifically as well is in the middle of a rally. So let's not mix those things. Let's not assume that because it's going up, it's just going to continue going up. It might have not priced in yet the fall. This one has priced in, I think, the fall, and is potentially forming a double bottom in here. Usually the coin that gets more votes, I'm going to cover it deeper. I'm going to respect the how many votes we got in here. It got 11 votes. You can see it now. So I'm going to spend more time in AVAX. We're going to look at liquidation levels and all of that. At the moment, that potential double bottom has a low of 15 and a high, a neck of 20. And that is the next level where we need to go. We need to look into RSIs, and we need to look into all the other things to, assess what are the chances that we do that. And we lost the level of 38 on the RSI. Let's see, where are the bounces in here? This is bear market. This in here in 2023 was a big pullback into 31, pretty much the lows of the momentum in June of 2022. And then we got this level in here, and I'm very tempted to connect these two to see where we meet with that ascending global support, which is 33. So that could be a recipe for rejection. And I'm gonna just track it in here. Let's imagine we get the bull case and we form this double bottom and we break the neckline, and we at the same time reclaim 39. So that's great for that rally that we already have in here. I'm just gonna move it in time to the right hand side, but it's kind of the same thesis. So if we can do that, great. Breaking the neckline, great. If we see rejection in here, or we don't even get close to the neckline and we put a new low, then we need to be looking at 33. And that 33 is a number that I want to translate into price action. So let's see where that is. That is $12.45. Is not exactly the most popular line in here, because I can see $10 has been support and resistance, yeah, $10. 12 is kind of halfway through here. But that is the number that could come next if we lose this 15. It makes total sense, right? So $2.5 lower, and then you get to the $10. So let's put that in the table in case the W fails. If it succeeds, let's do a measurement of how high can this go just with that breakout. The initial breakout should send us back into 25 if it fully succeeds. And that is just the beginning, right? Because we have this full fall that has been 73%. From the lows, a rally like this is barely 70%. I mean, relative to all that you lost, this that won't allow most of these people to even break even. So we need to look into more data, and I think my next target will come from the revenge rally. And notice that in here, doing a revenge rally like this in terms of timing, it comes back in June. And does it make sense, June? And I think it does. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to take the chance, since the next coin is Bitcoin. Um, I'm going to do a calculation in here that I really want to show with you. Let's create another test. And I'm going to go to Bitcoin and show you some timing, because I want to compare what happened in 2021, how long it took for the full recovery in terms of days. And then imagine that, let's say we are in the process of bottoming. Let's just be a bit using hopium, and let's think how long it will take a recovery. So if we just look at the length of that mid cycle, mid topping year pullback or big correction, actually, it took 62 days during the bottom. But is that a fair way of calculating it? I was wondering this morning. So I went into the crypto fear and greed index for a different perspective. And I put the maximum that we have in here of the range of greed and fear. And you can see that early 2021, that is equivalent to where we are now. And there's a small shift there, right? Because this correction started around April, whereas this one started from the beginning of the year. But let's use some things that are objective, which is, at what time did we enter fear in 2021? At what time we entered for the first time fear? And I think that is somewhere around here. Let me pull in my ChatGPT. Uh, I calculated starting from 25th of February, starting from the first time that we did fear into the last day, which was the 2nd of August, where we started going into 49, which is neutral. I calculated a total of 103 days of pain. That is from fear into neutral in 2021 for the full recovery. And that gives you 103 days, which is a lot more than if we just calculate just the period of the bottoming process. So you start with the fear from around here and you go all the way, and around the recovery, when you enter in fear and greed 49, you get 103 days. Now let's project that, how it will look like now. So taking the first time that we have a fear in here, it sounds funny. The first time we enter in fear in 2025 after this correction, um, that is 25th of February, and adding 103 days, that gives us 7th of June. That is just past performance, okay? It's not a forecast by the day, but is to get an idea. If we were to repeat the same period of fear in length, um, it will put us in June 7. Now, going back to this coin, June 7 is around here. So let's put a vertical line. And let's assume at that point, Bitcoin is already recovering. And then let's say AVAX follows up and starts getting into the rally revenge. That is 57. Let's put 57 in the price. That is giving us $35-40. What do we find at that level? Well, we find this support in here, this support right there, that we were holding from 16th of December, and we lost in end of January. So that is where we confirm fully the bearishness in AVAX and in the rest of the market, actually. So first target, just the humble 25th. We need to complete the neckline. That is just the beginning. Then if we start into a territory of recovery, we can target 35. If after that Bitcoin really puts an all-time high, or we get close to put an all-time high and we give some room with additional liquidity coming into the system, quantitative easing, and Ethereum coming back from home, as Benjamin will say, then we can start talking about higher targets. And on AVAX, which is a coin that was already in the previous cycle. So I'm going to be bold in here, and I'm going to use the Fibonacci extension from the previous cycle, which I have been trying not to do, to not spread unrealistic targets. But given that XRP and some other coins that were present in the previous cycle had their time to shine and even put an all-time high, if AVAX was to do that, yeah, an extension of one is $157. An extension golden pocket is $250 around. Okay, that is very aggressive target, guys. There's a lot of ifs in that statement. So let's do let's do a more conservative one for the time being, because things are not looking necessarily great in the economy. Where is my trend extension? So from this bottom in here to this top to the current low, that is basically calling for a rally into the same price, 54, and the golden pocket it's 78. So we're going to leave that there. Let's look at the rest of the data very quickly. Longs are coming back in. We had a breakout of longs, so that's the beginning of something. Hopefully they're going to be able to hold in this area to complete that. The attention in socials is coming back down, but not yet pinching the lower band in lunar crash. That is an area where no one is looking at the coin. And you can see the last time we pinched the lower area there in the socials, that was a great area to confirm a breakout, right? We were already up 62%, but then people stopped talking about Avalanche. And that was precisely when we have the pivot of 130% up. So I really do care if this comes down. It's important to get the alignment of all of those things. Just very quickly go, let's see if I get AVAX here in the scalping, possibly. Let's bring in the 10x2 and liquidation levels. So we have the $20 in here. That is, let's increase the time into 1 hour to get more data. Yeah, we still have the $20. That is quite a big one. That's the order block that pushed price down 27%. And it's kind of a great recipe to come back there. You can see AVAX is doing the same pattern as Bitcoin with a higher low there. It's got a neckline here at 17, but we really need to get to that $20, complete that, and not just take that liquidity, but carry on going higher. And nope, I don't have more liquidation levels in here. Let's see if I can find AVAX 3 months and AVAX in here as well. So this chart has been taking ages today. So we got the same 19 and 19. So that is a big one. If you want to scalp or just take a short swing, a short-term swing into this area, 19 is a great area to keep an eye for. Let me see your questions. If you have any questions about Avalanche, I know you don't like thinkings about shorts, so false possibility is quite useful. Yeah, I don't like, but let me see. Of course, in every single failure of a pattern breaking out in these areas is a potential for a short, right? So you just have to have the opposite view. I don't take shorts from support, obviously. This is an area to start thinking of accumulation of a long at $15. If we hold that, we get the chance to see the breakout into 20, to see those liquidations. If we just take the 20 liquidations, and then we see a rejection from there, we could see another move back down. So many coins have done that the setup for the short is to short 20, but short 20 assuming that there is a scenario of weakness there. We haven't got into 20. We don't know what's the scenario there. Therefore, I cannot tell you, hey, go on, set a limit order to sell 20, because that is just like flipping a coin. Is what I'm trying to say is, when we get to 20, when we get to 23, and we get into those areas and you see weakness in lower time frames, not in the weekly. In the weekly, we look at the levels. In the daily or 4-hour, we fine tune the entry based on breakdowns or based on confirmations from other factors. If we get into 24 or 20, those are areas to short AVAX in the scenario that we see a clear failure to reclaim. and also based on seeing too many longs or too much hype in the socials. If we are getting close to the red and we get there, there is a good potential for a short, of course, always with risk management. So on BTC, I have covered extensively with videos every day, but let's have a very quick look at what's going on, just as a quick update. So we were seeing a test of this neckline on the RSI for hour, and I kept track of that thanks to the reverse RSI. You can see that we pinched that level. Is this a rejection? Well, we don't know. It's a candle for hour, and there's still 36 minutes to confirm. But the closer we manage to close to that resistance, the more we are sending the message to the shorts that we are going for them. If we close way lower and there's a big wick to the upside with a small body at 76 or at 77 around here, then that is a more kind of ugly rejection, but always filter things with the momentum, because the momentum in here is not broken, right? We have higher high and higher low, and now we're being squashed into the resistance, but there's still not a clear winner up or down. So I look at the momentum to filter out the noise from the candles, because sometimes the candles, they look red and you say, that's it. And I see it all the time with this candle. If you go to my Telegram, there were 2 or 3 people saying, okay, ugly rejection, we're screwed. Why? Look at that side, it looks okay still. um, so that is important. What else I think is important? Well, losing the weekly there, we continue to lose momentum, but that is a typical reaction to what's going on with the trading war. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that the 74.4 has a double bottom in here and that we haven't broken that yet, even though today China announced retaliation again. I would have expected that that is all that we need to go to 60 something. Think about this. Nasdaq already lost the levels of 2024. Bitcoin still hasn't touched the levels of 2024. So, in that sense, there is some level of resilience at the moment on Bitcoin. We got also the buy signal, if anyone cares at this point, hash ribbons. I do care, but I keep my eye for this signal that gave a drawdown of 29%. And so far, the drawdown is like 11. So if it did 29, that gets you into 60K, and then you get the same performance of this signal. Just saying. In general, long term, if you are a holder, I will say with the signals from the stochastic RSI monthly, it doesn't look really great. But I'm open to exceptions. Why? Because, for example, in 2021, we had the COVID crash and it broke all the patterns, all the patterns. Um, with this move down in here to 3.9K, people were saying that's the end of the cycle. Bitcoin will never recover from that because we have never gone that low in an early year in a cycle. Um, and yeah, we recover. We have the money printer, and we went way beyond 3K. We went to 69, right? And in my only one stream with Benjamin Cowen, I asked him, what do you think is going to happen if we get a COVID-like situation in a topping year? What could be the effect of that? Can we still get a new all-time high? Do we just get a dead cat bounce, or we go straight into bear market and we just close the chapter? Those are 3 valid outcomes, and this is uncharted territory because we are getting that kind of COVID-like situation with the tariffs, and this is already at 6 in stochastic RSI. So literally, the monthly is already in the bear market. So I'm open for an exception there, but the charts are saying, yeah, we are screwed, basically. Let's go with the next coin in here. I have the list somewhere here. Solana. Solana, let's review it very quickly. I think I'm taking too long with the coins. You probably noticed that. Um, yes, Solana continues just to bleed, and it's just hovering around this area in here of the 100 and the $90. And I think we had some liquidation levels that were very important that we already took, and they were just leftovers in this area. Uh, Gosh, can I see? Okay, yes, we took the last 108, and there was just a leftover at 90 and 88. And I remember saying that, those are doable at the moment, but there's not much left to go lower, and trading different doesn't track that much back in time. You can see that it starts tracking from January 6th of 2024. So we don't know where the liquidity is in this. There's just these histograms there, but I don't trust them that much. Um, so let's go back to the chart and let's do some TA based on RSI. I remember mentioning that we are still needing some time for Solana to build some structure in here to decide when is it going to stop just bleeding, because this is just a free fall of momentum and we are far from the resistance. And I think in a video I said that if we need either time to meet with the resistance at around the 40s and then have a breakout, so we can get some reassurance that we are not just going to bleed into way below 100, or if we get an intense pump in here, we can meet with the resistance at way higher levels. But I just prefer to wait for some structure forming here. We still have lower lows and lower highs in everything: price, momentum, everything. The only thing that is promising is that we are very low in attention. No one is looking or caring in social networks about Solana. And that could be an opportunity if within this period that we are at these lows, there's also something technical to grab from, to say, yeah, we have some confluence of socials with something technical. But I just don't see what technical thing we have there. And that doesn't give me much confidence to say, hey, we took all the liquidity. I wish I could say that we took all the liquidity. There's some technical bottoming patterns, and the socials are screaming opportunity because everybody's looking the other way. But we are missing one leg there. On the 21st of October, we went to 0.9 in terms of social dominance. And at the moment, we are at 6, and it's pinching the same bottom of the Bollinger Band. Um, in terms of longs and shorts, it has reduced the number of longs, but not all of it. Not enough, in my opinion. Many coins are already halfway or way lower. Some of them are below the lowest it's ever been. So there is plenty of Solana longs still hanging around, and that is kind of the risk of entering right now. And I'm not saying don't accumulate a little bit, okay, because things can change overnight. But the risk relative to other coins is bigger, in my opinion. That is what I think, honestly. On ADA, we have an M pattern in here with lower highs, with a neck at 0.5. And there is no way to project this. It will give me negative numbers if I try to get the target. Yeah, minus 26 cents. So I'm gonna ignore this, and let's look at RSI. RSI is at the median, and I will say the initial uh, target is to get into RSI 52 from where we are and see if we can reclaim in here. And I'm gonna move this area because we had a breakout, but it was failed, right? So we're gonna connect it with this and measure how far we are from impacting that resistance. And then we get a second point in here of resistance of 54. So we have the 48 and the 54. And let's do that. 48 and 54. And let's use this one. 48, 54, like this. Okay, so in the price, we have a resistance that we need to break to start the momentum to upside, and that is 67 cents. And let me move this support there, and let's make it match that. I know that it should be here because of the highs of March, but let's place it at 67 to make it match with the RSI and with the support that we held in February and part of March, and then we broke down to the next level. So for recovery, very similar to AVAX, we lost one level down and we need to come back this way. And we have as well a, a potential to do some double bottom. But actually, this morning, I remember looking at ADA and I was thinking that if we make this one leg and then this leg here with the same bottom of 50, and if we came back to here, then we get an ultra aggressive target. But let's measure it because I'm gonna do this because there is so much hype around ADA these days, and that points to 176. But of course, you need to wait all this formation. I wouldn't wait for that breakout. Okay, I'm gonna be totally honest. At 1-1, I'm not buying this. No way. What you could do is accumulate at this level, and if it fails this level, have orders at the next level of 30 something. And then from there, we will have to look out for um, another pattern and another exit. Everything shifts down, but thanks to having another order in here, you can get out of that. And in this area in here, if you accumulate with just the initial order and you complete that, if you see weakness at 1-1, you pull out. If you see a breakout into 1-2, then you can rally all the way to 176 because at that point, people are going to notice, oh, wow, we built a double bottom that is huge and it can point way higher. So that will give you a total rally of 200%. And if you just get in here, it's 100%. And if it fails, you are going to have a drawdown of 38. So you do the math for the risk reward, and you could do 1:2. So if you put $100 in here and $200 in there, that could average down things to 42, and then you can look for something that helps exiting if we enter in bear market. Still, it could still be a loss. Okay, there's this is just mitigation of risk, is not evasion of risk. We will always have a risk. The moment we put money in an exchange or in a wallet in crypto, we are in risk even if we don't trade. Let's look at XLM, and I was surprised of this pattern, how clean still is relative to all the bull flags that we have in all the other coins. They are all spoiled. So either this hasn't been broken yet, and it will get broken potentially, or it could break out. And I guess this is kind of the small cousin of XRP, but XRP broke down. So that's the thing. So let's look at XRP. How is it doing now? We got the head and shoulders breaking down. We are progressing towards the thesis of reclaiming 1.9, but we haven't done it. And I left you two beautiful candles in here. The one that the two that could help reclaim the bullishness on XRP, which is closing very close to 195 this week, or closing above in this area of the 2-1. Either of them, one more bullish than the other. The second is the most bullish, of course. We already went into 161, and I'm looking at XRP because it should have an effect on XLM. I've seen the coupling of these two coins constantly. And if it fails, if it pukes like many other bull flag have in the past month, you have the 17 cents initially. Many coins have held at that point, meeting with the highs of either 2023 or March, April 2024. Then after that, we have these highs. Interesting that 2023 had higher highs than March 2024. I haven't seen that much that thing happening. So you've got these levels in here to look at 10, 14, and 17. In case the bull flag fails. But if you want some exposure in here, this is an area of value, 21. And when I say it's an area of value, I'm in no way saying if you buy here, it won't go down, because some people read that way, and it's not the case. Let's reshape this flag. It's really bleeding weird. I think I had it that way before. So that breakout was a fake out, and then I had to move it like this. And at the moment, it's slightly above it. I wouldn't call that a breakout at all. Um, let's see how are the longs versus shorts. They're kind of coming into the median, we could say, around there. There's still room to go down if, we wanted further pain. Let's see if we can do a trend. Well, if it meets with that trend too, it will meet with the highest percentile at 33. So in between this area and this area is where there is the area of value for accumulation of XLM, and currently is about to meet with the lowest band of the social. So that means that no one is looking at this at the moment, and that's the best time to start accumulating, I think. Same with Injective. Um, we can see Injective protocol has lost this level of momentum that we had in December 2022. Crazy how far low we have gone into bear market territory, momentum of so many coins. So we lost this, we retest, coming back down into 27, and longs are almost not, pretty much not existent in this area. So we just have a little bit more room into 16, and it's the lowest level of longs that you've seen in this coin ever since inception. that kind of bull market we got this time. And potential setup is the same setup that I mentioned before, which is this local breakout in this area. And last time we had this sort of breakout was in September 2024, and that lasted until 62. So if conditions remain the same, call it no quantitative easing yet, no, extreme levels of money flowing into crypto, then we stay humble and we just look for a rally like this into 48 or even lower. And that 48, probably you're going to get disappointed, but better to get disappointed with small profits rather than with a huge red bag and inheriting from 4 years or more to get rid of it, or selling at a loss. So that gives you 1487. So that's $15, and it meets with the previous support. It makes sense. So that's a revenge rally. That's how it looks like in the price, going into this area in there. So where we are in here is an area of accumulation. It was used for this pump in October 2023, where from accumulation area, the pump was 700%. But of course, there was a lot of, sideways before it. It wasn't just, well, 1 week and up. So if we stay in this area and we stay in accumulation, or if we lose this level and we do the accumulation in here, I will be interested in accumulating for a revenge rally. Aave, that has been faked out, the breakout that we have this time. And you can look in my Twitter because I took profits and I publish it on Twitter. Search in my Twitter the day I say I took profits on Aave. And I did it because, we are in a really crappy market, and I left the potential for going this high. These are obviously the extreme targets that I usually split my targets, and I say this is realistic for the current conditions. These are if conditions change and you really want to, not just a swing trade, you want to hold and sell into a potential rip end of the year. If we get it, assuming that we get it, then we get these targets. And Aave, I did a dedicated video. You can watch it. And I still believe in every single piece I say that this was a channel. The channel continues in this way. And I say that this is an area of value. And then if that gets broken, we enter in the 129. So that's why in these areas in here, when you are in a bull flag, the bleeding can continue, and you have to be prepared for that. It's not like 163 buy and it won't go lower. When I'm saying look at 128 and look at 78, those are levels that are potentially doable, particularly in a scenario of that we are now. We're kind of in a very ugly scenario. Let me see I look at the RSI. Yeah, that's the setup I talk about in the video. It just moves from here. And let's see what's the progress in longs. And I saw this morning. It's incredible. Look, Aave enters in the area of value at around 36 in history. Every time that the longs are that low, it bounces back up. And this is the first time in history that Aave hasn't bounced up from there. So it is in an area of discovery for the longs to discover when they are going to step in, given this particular scenario that is very unique, right? When was this listed? September 2021. So we don't have, well, yes, we do have price action in October 2020, but not during the COVID crash. I wanted to see how it performed in the COVID crash, but Delta Longs doesn't span that back in time. Let's go with Link. And Link. It broke out, but it put new lows. Socials are at the very low. And it's about to go to the lowest levels of longs in history. The only exception is May 2022. We went to 24 at that point, and now we have 27% longs. So that low. And even in 2023, in all these areas, indeed, we were bouncing. We were going in this direction into the bull market. So every time the bulls were stepping in with higher risk at 43 and then at 48, those were buying opportunities. And the last time at 50, they just say, okay, we are out of this. And that led the price collapse from top to bottom almost 70%. So let's look at levels of support and resistance in here. Let's look at this. Let me check with the questions. Hello, everybody. Sorry, have to go. Somebody mentioned earlier today in a live stream that the VIX daily RSI looks quite similar than it was in the beginning of COVID crash. And after it, the VIX just elevated for 2 weeks. Well, I've been saying that that's going to happen for many months before even it started doing anything bearish, just because the VIX has a nature that is very cyclic. It repeats constantly the same story, and it's no joke. And we've been in an area of a squeeze in VIX, and that was calling for this to happen. Yeah, let's go back to Chainlink. So what is the next support? At the moment, we are holding the $10. So that is the next support. Let's get rid of all these failed targets. We need to drag down the Fibonacci extension and move the 1.6 and the 1 extension. So now it's $34, $47 for a recovery of the market. And in terms of actual pattern that we have in here, let me get rid of this. And let's do also a flag in this area. And let's get rid of this too. And this was a failure. So let's place it like that. And let's talk about 57 as a target. And that is giving us $20. So from the support of $10 into $20, that 100% is realistic if we confirm a breakout from here. And on Chainlink, we are seeing this pointing up. I would like to see how we end the week. If we end pointing really up or just sideways or down. Okay. So on Sunday, to look into how this weekly candle closes, just because there is a confluence of no one looking at Link. And I wonder, when you look at social dominance, I tend to go to lunar crash and confirm who then is driving at the moment all the attention. I cannot go to the right hand side now. Anyways, when I go to lunar crash and I look at the social dominance, I sort all the coins by social dominance, and sometimes I see who is the most noisy at the moment in Twitter and YouTube, and those are typically about to collapse to the downside. In this case, this is very quiet, and because this is a percentage, I'm wondering what then is at the moment so popular. And I think the answer to that was hype. Hype was very highly popular today on Lunar Crash. That is stealing the spotlight that Chainlink and the other ones are so quiet. But being quiet is great. That's alpha actually. And yeah, Link is about to test the lower percentile. This, I think, is like a 1 percentile, and being at 26, that means that, we haven't been there more than 1% of the time in terms of longs versus shorts. And the last time was May 2022. That's bottom of bear market. And that is kind of the amount of longs that you currently have on Link. So you are entering in a position of advantage relative to those metrics. It's rare that you really can get such an opportunity if you can overlap it with technicals. But again, let's not be naive, because we are in the middle of something bigger happening in general markets. So those opportunities are also subject to that. So it's not like a bubble um, that you see all the technicals and that's it. So be prepared to need to rescue some entries with averaging down or using stop losses, the usual risk management. And this is Ton, is the coin of Telegram, if I remember right. I know because I have a little bit. And how is it looking on OKX? So it's, oh wow, okay, so it pinched this level. And I wanted to say that it's a liquidity hunt, but really the highest close is 2.6. So it just perfectly reclaimed that in intra-candle price action. So it's not a full liquidity hunt with body candle. It's just the wick, which is good. Good. So it's holding that 2.6. It bounced off. And why do I have that level here? I suspect that this is from the daily. So I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to say that 3.8 is the next level of resistance. And let's adjust this to the closing prices. This seems to be around here, 5.8. And can we match that like this? Yeah, it's like every day I feel like support and resistance is in a different place. It should always be in the same place, but my eye wakes up different every day. Let's look at this ugly breakout that had 2 weeks of upside, and then the the worst retest in history. Spending months to test the same line and finding that support at 2.6, which is the highs of that. Um, we see some bullishness in the beginning of March. There is a breakout in here. Is that one there? Let me get rid of this angle. Yeah. And I don't have a point of reference to look for what to defend, but I'm liking the potential for this to break above 3.8 to form a decent pattern in here. It is kind of an inverse head and shoulders like this, just the week. Okay, I mean, allow me to stretch the definition of the inverse head and shoulders, but if we could break from here, that I think that makes this area in here where we are a decent area for accumulation. But again, we need to look what happens if it fails, like if it break below the 2.6. Where do we have the next strong level of support and resistance? And I think that is 1.9 or $2 if you want. Let's make it 1.9. And then we have 1.20. So if you enter in this area of value of 2.6 and it fails, you look for 1.9. Yes. Upside. Let's see the upside to calculate risk reward. So let's say you got lucky and you enter at 2.7, that takes you back into $5. So if you enter around there, it's like around 70%. Notice that the 4.8 is a huge level here that we might fail to reclaim. From the RSI, I cannot get any target, just the median of 51. Longs have already stepped in. That is a counter argument to enter in here because it has gone too far high and it needs a pullback. It needs a cool down. I wouldn't enter after longs have entered, increase 123% from 28 to 63. So interesting that this pullback from 3.9 into 2.9, that's a whole $1. uh, and that has only flashed 2% of the longs. So that is weird. Still, I think that the area in here is of value technical. I don't like seeing too many longs. Socials, we don't have any alpha with this coin. Let's go with Sui. In Sui, I review it very often. I can tell that you guys are invested in Sui. It is in an area of value in here. It hasn't lost it yet. It could lose it. Many coins have lost it, but it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row defending that 50% of longs. In the past, that was support as well in this area, which supports the idea that this is a fractal that is repeating in multiple aspects: the breakdown, the retest, the bearish divergence, and even the length of the pain. It's been very similar twice. So far we don't take that level. I can see my 1.7 there. It's still in place. We have just 5 minutes to go, so I'm going to look into some of your questions that I left before. And remember, guys, that if you want to be part of this video is going to go live tomorrow for everybody, not just for members. Members can join live. You can ask me questions. I read your questions. So if people want to join this, there is a link in the description to join Patreon. you need to join as an elite member. And I think there were some questions in the beginning. Thoughts on Libra? I'm not sure which Libra, Brad. I forgot to ask you when you just asked which coin is Libra. If you can give me the symbol, I can have a look. And Gabor says, is it possible that you mention which coin has the ability for bigger fall? Um, well, bigger fall, I will expect personally. Solana has done already a huge fall, okay? But Solana does these things, these huge falls. If you look at the previous bull market, Solana performed incredible, right? So you got 100,000% from the bottom of January 2021, 100,000. And when you look at these returns, you should expect big falls. So here you have a 70%, this other leg is an 80%, just that final leg is another 60%. So when you see now this leg of 67, of course, there has to be a dead cat bounce like this one in there, which bounces, 85% to the upside. But you get, let's say you get a dead cat bounce here into 160. If you enter in bear market, expect another 80% down in 80. So Solana is one of those that can have those kicks that are horrible. XRP is another one that historically retraces most of the pumps, and these patterns are already calling for targets of 0.7, which puts you back in this area in here, well, almost just the top level. If it plays out, there you have a big fall as well. That's why I exit at this area in Solana as well, because those are the dangerous coins. Of course, they have huge reward. There's a full big narrative going in rounds, but I don't trade narratives really. I trade what I see with my eyes, and with Solana, I see that is a poisonous coin. Um, to think that you can hold forever and just look the other way, come back and take your returns. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to trade it. I think many of these coins like Link and Aave still have upside and it have limit downside, in my opinion, because it has already come very low and is very close to these levels. Whereas Solana still have a downside to meet with the bear market prices. It needs to do another 80%. But if you look at Aave, uh, it it can do a 50% down more, sure. Link, it can do another 50% um, to get into the bear market. But XRP in Solana can do an 80, 19 from here if it wanted to go back to those levels. Which one as well? Well, Caspa, I had some news. I think I was reading on Twitter from one of the users I'm following that, well, this is a proof of work network, and of course it requires the hash rate to stay up. And these days there's been a 40% down of the hash rate on Caspa, which is something you want to keep an eye on. um, there is a distributed shape in here that we cover in videos during this period, that we say this looks like, the rolling over of Bitcoin in 2021 appears in Caspa and appears in NVIDIA. And so far, both of them have mimicked the same kind of Bart Simpson performance, which is to break down. The actual target of this pattern with a neck here is, yeah, negative. So I cannot do it. So far we are testing support at 0.05, and if this holds, we can see some upside. Otherwise we get 41 and then 14 to the downside. And I cover this. I miss Algo. Let's see Algo. It's right there at support. Then there is support is at 15. Then you got 10 and 87. Let's see if there's any pattern. Ouch. Okay, so Algo just lost the support in here, not just, but 10 of March, during March. And there was yes, kind of wanting to break out and have a revenge rally here against 43. That's probably a very small move up. So I will slow down. If you want to enter in algo, maybe we need to see some structure holding, like for example, entering at 15 and then averaging down way lower at 10 if it fails. And then at least you have some exposure at support for a potential rally into 27 or so. And Cubic, it's got some history. Resistance at 13, support at 80. Very difficult to read these numbers. It's 137 versus 80. Then we have 22.5. Then we have that support there at 29.27. And then, of course, the 42. And okay, there is some bullish moving here, and there is also a trend to defend, which is this. So we need to defend that 33 and remain above that. Let's put it in the chart to see it. Where is 33? I think it's still calculating. Or well, anyways, it doesn't work. It doesn't want to give me 33. Maybe there's not enough history. So I see some bullishness in here because we have higher lows and we still don't have a higher high though. Yeah, it's been punished as well by the current general markets action, and socials is spiking like crazy. Cubic, you got 0.59% of attention in social networks. So everybody's today talking about this, or this week. Let's see the daily. I'm over the hour, but you see, this is a huge spike in attention to 0.59% of all social network talking about crypto is right now talking about this, when usually the average is around 34. So there is a spike in attention of 74% against everything else. And I think that is because these coins, they move this week up 24% and everybody starts talking about it when all it's doing is bouncing from the last line of support. If we could complete the pattern, at least in here, with a neck like this at 1192 and carry on higher and reclaim that level, that is something. That is something that is going to make it look like this. So if you believe in the coin, in accumulate at 81 at that support there, and you rally into the formation of the double bottom, and then you continue into here and you take it easy at 1388, looking for reducing your position or just pulling out against resistance, depending how things are looking, and that could be an opportunity. But entering now with all this hype, I think they're just going to dump it back into support, which could provide another opportunity to enter, but do not enter if you break the 33 on the weekly. And I think that concludes all the coins, and I'm going to see if I'm missing any important question. I know you don't like to give shorts, so you have to go. I missed the initial comments on the current situation and reaction of BTC on the news today. You can go back in the video, Neapolis, because it's basically just a live stream, but you just drag the history and you can watch from the beginning. And thanks for the happy birthday wishes. And I was joking. I was talking about the Milei coin. Okay, I see. I thought for a moment that you were talking about Libra in the Turkey currency, which is against dollar, doing really, really bad all these years. Have a good day tomorrow and happy birthday. Thanks, everybody. Remember, if you're watching this video tomorrow during my birthday and you want to join the elite and join this session, a bit more chill, laid back, absolutely honest and transparent TA. You can join as an elite, and I'm looking forward to see you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye, guys.